Snowden and Post-PRISM World is one of our topics. As it is, of course, all year. But the next session is about the ownCloud and Frank Karlitscheck. We have known each other a couple of years, and Frank has been a great contributor for the open source since we get along together with Frank when we were organizing the KDE Academic Conference 2010 in Finland. But nowadays he is also founded very interesting ownCloud project where actually fits into today's agenda very nicely, as we are talking about how control of the data and programs and everything could be managed by the users, and that is what the ownCloud is. So Frank, stage is yours.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, I'm a long-time KDE contributor, like 12 years or something. Scary, I'm old. I'm also doing the Open Desktop org website, kdlook.org, gnome.org, and ownCloud project. And I think I was invited here to talk about ownCloud, but I have to confess, I think I want to hijack this talk a bit and not talk a lot about ownCloud, but about something else which I think is very important nowadays. It's about the post-PRISM world. I think we all saw the news that basically the NSA, the foils the internet encryption, like X-Keyscore, a tool, a little bit more than a tool, collects basically nearly everything on the internet. I mean, there is this new term called all-take now, which is a little bit crazy. It just means store everything. It's not about filtering or searching for content, just store everything. That's super scary, I think. We all know the LavaBit story, of course, when they shut down their service because they no longer can offer a secure service for their users. I mean, that says a lot. Basically, the NSA, the English Secret Service, and all other secret services in the world. This is not, in my opinion, not so much about the US. It's basically about all the secret services together. They basically bypass the online encryption completely. Grok law shut down because they can no longer protect their journalists. And of course the credit cards, the data is also compromised. So basically all the communication on the internet at the moment. I think the summary is from the stories last few months is secret services from all kinds of different countries. They are reading, and what people don't really talk about, of course, also can change and modify basically all the data on the internet. That's super scary. Who's using encrypted email here in the room? A few. Working on it, right? Who's using Dropbox? Yeah. Google Drive. iCloud. Who's doing online banking? That's everyone. And who thinks that private on the internet is still safe? No one. Okay. So I think it's quite clear that we have a problem here, right? I mean, you basically all don't believe that what you're doing on the internet is safe, but you still use all the services, right? Because you have to. So I think what we can say is that the internet is under attack now. That's the internet as we know it is under attack. So why is this a problem? And we can say, hey, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, the internet, what does it mean? All the internet is one of the most important inventions ever, in my opinion, and the opinion of other people too, because it enables a free flow of knowledge. That's very important, right? And it's great for people to have access to knowledge from all around the world, to learn together, to have access. What are the best communication tools? I mean, email, chat, video, conferencing, and so on. It's an awesome collaboration tool. I mean, all the complete free software movement. I mean, there would be no free software movement without the internet, right? I mean, like projects like the Linux kernel, they're developed online and with the tools that the internet provides. And of course, it also is a great foundation for new services and new products and new software that can build on top of the internet. Okay, so that's the situation. If you talk to people nowadays, hey, look here, your data is no longer safe on the internet. What's your reaction? You basically get this, in my experience, these three things as response. The first is, I no longer transmit or store private information on the internet. And this statement is wrong in several ways. First of all, it would be really bad, and like I said earlier here, you would lose all these things if you would stop using the internet. That would be really bad. And you can also say that it's very difficult or impossible to not use the internet, because all of us also use the internet indirectly. And I mean, you have now smartphones with cameras that are switched on all the time. You have smartphones which microphones switched on all the time. Right? If you use a normal telephone, this is all voice over IP nowadays. Right? You have surveillance cameras in the cities who film you, so you are part of the system. There you can't, there's no way around it. And then the second response is what you normally get from the free software and from the IT guys. So I say, hey, okay, everybody knows that Facebook is not secure, sure, but I use SSH, right? Rsync, GPG, all the great tools, right? Everybody should use that, and I am so good and I'm so clever because I do that and I'm safe. And all the others are they're just wrong, and they should know how to use all these awesome tools. Well, I will talk about it later a little bit. I don't think that's a good answer, because we have to realize that what's needed are really consumer-friendly tools that everybody can use, like what Mailpile is doing, I think. Rather than building a tool that has great security and good usability. So just say, hey, we have this awesome free software command line tools, that's not the answer. And the third option is, of course, I don't care. That's what most people say, hey, I don't care, I have nothing to hide. I mean, this is, of course, the worst answer, because this would mean we just give up completely and you no longer care about free society. Okay, so all this is not enough. Okay, let's take a step back and look at, hey, who actually invented the internet? Who invented what we have today? And I think we can say that we invented it. It's the free software community, it's the IT guys, like all of us. We actually did that. I mean, the internet is the Linux kernel. There would be no internet without Linux, like a free software operating system. All the technologies, Java, PHP, JavaScript, and so on, they're all free software, and that's the foundation of the internet. The databases, all the free databases, the open protocols, all the applications, so this all comes from us. So what you can say is that we invented the internet, and because we invented the internet, we also have to fix it. Right? I mean, like I said, what we did, we have all the foundation here, we have the protocols and the applications and the tools, and we have to take the next step to fix it, to make it secure and usable for everyone. If you really care about what the internet provides, then we have to do that. Then of course the question comes up, how should it work, right? I mean, fixing it is easy to say, but how should the internet actually work? What are the important principles behind data and communication here? So I think what's needed is a definition of important values and things that we care about on the internet, and then we should check how does the current services, how do they do against those values, and what do we have to improve. So because of that, we have this user data manifesto that we launched a little bit over a year ago, which are 8 basic rights that, in the opinion, my opinion, and from a few other open source free software people, 8 basic rights where we think that this is important about data and communication on the internet. First of all, I think a person who creates the content should also own it. You have the crazy situation that you take a picture, you write a document, you write code, you do something on the internet, just on email, and then you want to sync and share it with your other devices, and you upload it to Google or to Dropbox or to some other service, and suddenly, immediately, it's no longer yours. Right? In the terms of services, there are strange things that basically take away your document, your data from your own, only because you use the service. I mean, you don't have the interest to give your picture away to someone else to monetize it. You only want to put it on your phone, because that you want to use the syncing service, and suddenly it's no longer yours. That's broken, of course. Then I want to know where the data is stored. So if I upload something to the internet, I want to share something with someone, it's important to know where the data is stored, because this also influences the laws that apply to this data. Right? I mean, there are different laws in different countries, so it's actually important to know where my data is physically stored. Then I want to choose the storage location. So if I'm no longer happy with one provider, I want to switch over to a different one. It should be my right. I mean, why am I logged into some Google services only because I use an Android phone? Or can I say, hey, there's this other service, and I switch everything to this other provider? It should be possible. Then control the access. So I should be the guy who chooses who has access to my personal data. It's possible that I decide that someone else in my family or my friends, that they have access to some of my stuff, but it's my decision, right? It's not a decision of the host or of the provider or the software vendor or someone. Then if I share something with someone, then I want to choose the conditions. So I want to say, hey, these guys, they can now see my vacation pictures or something. But that's my decision how I do that. I mean, it's just not fair that someone decides to hey, we have this picture now on our server, so we can use this for advertisement or can sell it to an advertising agency. Right? That should be my decision. Invulnerability of the data, so I have the right to encrypt and protect my data against surveillance. I mean, there are even countries where it's not legal to protect yourself. Totally crazy. And of course, I want to use it optimally, so there should be open protocols and open file formats behind all this data, so I can access it on my devices and in a way how I want to use it. And of course, it should be all free software, because only with free software you have the right to actually, or that you can actually see what's going on with your data. If you transmit your data between your phone and your tablet and some server somewhere, if it's not free software, you have no idea if there are any backdoors in there or not. So that's important. Okay, that's the user data manifesto, which basically defines what in our opinion is important if we really want to use the internet to store all our digital files and all the information in there. Okay, so now we have these principles where we think, okay, this should be the case. This should be the important principles from all the services on the internet. So then let's see how the main services on the internet do. I picked here email, messaging, the web in general, social networking, and then file sync and share collaboration. Okay. So how do we do here? First, look at email. Email is actually relatively okay. First of all, it's decentralized, which means everyone can host an email server and can have an email client, and there is no central mail server for the whole internet, right? There's no central email address registry, so it's decentralized, it's already good. I can host it on my own, that's great. I can migrate from one provider to a different one. Well, okay, sometimes I use the email address, which is not that good, something where you have to work on, but in general, migration is possible. There are open protocols, and there are different open source implementations for the service and the clients. So email is already good. The problem is no encryption. Okay, some of you might say, okay, there are ways to encrypt email, but as we discussed earlier, I don't think you can say that everything is secure. Right? And even LavaBit shuts down and others. So the encryption is the difficult piece here. And even if we assume that GPG is still secure, it's not consumer friendly. So encryption is something where you have to work on. Next, the web, also decentralized. You can run your own web server. You can host it on your own machine somewhere. There's no central registry for web servers. Migration is possible. Open protocols, open source implementations for servers and clients, browsers. It's also the case. Encryption, SSL, as we learned, is not secure. SSL is broken nowadays. This doesn't necessarily mean that the encryption algorithm itself is broken, but the main problem is most likely the certificates, as we know since a few months. So if someone has access to one of the root certificates, everyone can create like a new certificate for your server and can just do a classic man-in-the-middle attack and basically listen to the complete communication that goes over the internet. That's what happens with the NSA does at the moment. So encryption has to be fixed. We, the software world, the IT guys, we have to fix the encryption. Okay, next, social networking, very bad. It's centralized. Right? Migration between different social networking services is not possible. Even if you export your profile from, let's say, Facebook and import it to Google+, if this would be possible, it's not. You will still lose all the connections to your friends. So migration is not possible at the moment. I say here no open source implementations. Yeah, I know that there are a few like Diaspora, but it's unfortunately not really relevant. No one is using it. So that's the problem. No open protocols. There are a few protocols, but they're not widely used. And the encryption, of course, there is no real encryption. I mean, what would be really needed here is client-side encryption, which is, of course, a challenge to do in social networking. Okay, and then the last thing, file sync and share collaboration. This is like the Google Drive and the Dropbox thing, mostly centralized. No open protocols at the moment. And the encryption is also a problem. Disclaimer, of course, we want to solve some of these things with ownCloud, but as you know, I mean, the market share of ownCloud is whatever, 0.01% or something. So there's still a lot to do here. What's good about sync and share and collaboration is migration. Migration is actually relatively easy. If you have a synchronized folder on your desktop, you just can take this folder and put it into the sync folder of a different provider and it just syncs without a problem. And there's some open source implementation like ownCloud. So the question is, what can consumers and companies do today? Like discussed earlier, there's GPG and S-MIME for mail encryption with the security problems, as we just discussed, is not secure. A bit better than others, but yeah. We shouldn't rely on SSL as the only solution for free communication. That's also a problem because there's nothing really better. There are ways to solve the certificate problem if you only work with self-signed certificates that they have like hard-coded on the client on the server, it can be possible for some internal encrypted communication. Of course, in general, if you want to do online banking in a safe way, no way. Use Linux and open source free software in general as much as possible, because only there you actually know that there are no backdoors in the code. I mean, we all know the stories with the potential backdoors in Windows and macOS, right? It's not completely proven yet, but it's very, very likely that there's something in it. And then, of course, consider the on-premise software, the on-premise file sync and share solution. This means running on your own infrastructure. Running your file syncing server on your router, on your NAS server at home, or consider to run your own mail server. It's not that difficult. This afternoon we have a talk from Georg Greve from Cola. It's relatively easy to host your own groupware file server nowadays. And what can we as developers do? We are really the guys who should look into that and see what we can do to fix it. I think we should build security and encryption into the core of every software from now on. Right? I mean, now we have the ultimate proof that it's needed. So if you write some software that has some kind of communication, just think about security and encryption. You can't rely on, oh, the data on the internet is just so much data, no one cares about my data, right? I have nothing to hide. No, I think we all have something to hide, which is our privacy. So we have to build it into every software that we build. Some clever guys have to look into ways to improve SSL. That's not me. It's really, really difficult, but someone has to do that. And the next thing is, we really should work on software that's easy to use. I mean, as we all know, there are ways to use GPG plugins for mail clients, but it's really, really not easy. So normal consumers can't do it or don't want to do it. This is a screenshot from the GPG key manager that I googled on Windows, it seems. So this is an application that you have to use to manage your GPG keys. I mean, we have quite a menu here. We have lots of crazy buttons here. Here's like great cool stuff like OXFA313590, 1024, DSA, ELG, full, none. Yeah, great. I mean, is this the best that we can do as software developers to provide a free software that can help people to encrypt their communication, to secure their privacy? This can't be it, right? I mean, this is, why is this even needed? Why does this software even exist here? This is a great way to not bring privacy to the people. And here, this is the man page from SSH. This is actually the first page from 3 or 4, I think. Right? I mean, we all love these crazy options here, right? It's helpful to do whatever here, inline copy something, right? But I mean, is this the best software that we as free software community can provide for secure synchronization of files between machines? I don't think so. I mean, it's synchronization folders and files between machines. That is something that people want to do nowadays, believe it or not. And if this is the best we can offer, that's a joke. Right? That's a great administration tool, but this is not software to bring secure syncing to the world. Okay. I think I personally want to have an internet again, which I can trust, which is secure, that I can use for all my communication, that we can use to build other services upon. And I think we really should work on fixing that. That's really, really important. And I think there are basically two groups that can work on that, like, and the politicians that can work on some of the stuff, like pushing open standards forward and so on. And then there are we are the IT guys, right, the developers, the people who care about software and algorithms and protocols. And at the end of the day, I don't think that the politicians will do a lot here. As we saw in the last few months, I expect nothing. So if we don't work on a secure and safe internet, then no one does. So I think we should do that. Thanks.
Any questions, comments? Yeah.
Question, what do you think about BitTorrent Think?
I haven't looked into the code or the details,
You
but
can't look in the code, it's closed source.
Okay. This would be the first problem, yeah.
Just opinion.
I mean, I'm not an expert in BitTorrent. I mean, BitTorrent we all love BitTorrent because it's a clever protocol. But if the software is not open source, then I wouldn't use it for my private data.
But BitTorrent is a protocol as well, and Boost is open source, isn't it?
What is open source?
The protocol for BitTorrent,
Yeah.
VOOS, it was called Azurius.
Okay.
It's an open source Java.
Yeah. I think there are a few open source implementations. Yeah, sure.
So we don't have to rely on BitTorrent, the application,
That's true.
for replication of data.
That's true. Yeah. If someone would build an open source alternative to that, this would be probably good. Yeah.
Awesome.
I missed parts of your lecture, but you said that we had to build security into every application.
Yeah.
At the same time, if I, as an application developer, is not a security expert, and I try to implement some ad hoc security, isn't there a risk that I get security theater instead?
Yeah, sure. It's difficult. I mean, first of all, there was a trend the last few months with this encrypted secure chat applications on mobile phones. A few projects tried to do something there, and a few guys even did the worst mistake and started to implement their own encryption algorithm. Some even closed source. I mean, this will be a disaster, right? This is not a good idea. So, as an application developer, of course, you should use the existing libraries. They are reviewed by lots of experts over the years. Of course, there are a lot of other things that you can do wrong with encryption and security. So at the end of the day, you have to talk with experts. But I think it's needed.
But if we're going to go on in that vein, we have the Unix application model where you view everything as a file that you can plug into the next pipe.
Yeah.
Isn't some kind of pipe security then a better solution than trying to build your own? If you see what I mean.
That's why we have libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have libraries, and what you probably mean is something like SSL, which is like a layer. That
Yeah,
you can
exactly. And since you said the SSL is a problem,
Yeah.
because it's not reviewed enough, or because it's the only solution in town, or?
I mean, we have proven now that it's broken.
Yeah, okay.
As I understand, and I'm definitely not an expert here, is that the main problem is the certificate system.
Okay.
A few things regarding SSL as a library. It is that it's way too complex to use it in a easy, safe manner. Because there are a lot of exceptions that you must, in this encryption scenario, you must use this. Setting up the SSL library together with a certificate is a pretty big process. And if you do, it's very hard, I believe, to get it safely used. And I think that there are some other libraries that tries to make the simple case much more easy to set up.
Okay.
Yeah, the problem, I mean, basically SSL solves two problems. There's like the encryption of the communication, and then there is making sure that there is no man-in-the-middle attack. Right, the two things. And encryption algorithm itself is, as I understand that, I don't know, should be relatively okay if you use the Euro ones. But to protect against the man-in-the-middle attacks, that's a problem. But what you really want to have as a user experience, you type on www.mybank.com, and then you want to have a secure connection to your bank. The problem is that you don't have the certificate of your bank, right? And no one knows that. Of course, you can send it by snail mail, and people have to verify if this is really the bank that you're talking to or someone else. But that's a challenge from a user experience point of view. And the account system uses certificate, is a hierarchical certificate system, which you only need access to one of the root certificates, and you can create your own Facebook and Google certificate and basically do perfect man-in-the-middle attack and sniff all your data. That's not good. Not good enough. More questions? Perhaps about ownCloud. I'm sorry that I haven't talked about ownCloud at all, but I think this is the general topic is even more important.
Actually, I would say that the last good feature is a real-time editing
Yeah.
discovered. I guess we should talk about that.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't know any other free product offering such feature.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not prepared for that, but I can say a little bit if you're interested. Yeah, what we do here is a way to do online collaboration on your documents in the browser. And we work together with the guys from the KO GmbH, which do the web ODF project. Basically an ODF implementation in JavaScript in the browser. And they added collaboration features. We worked together with them in the last few months and built into ownCloud that you can open and save your files directly in ownCloud. And ownCloud can be the server that distributes the editing events between all the clients. And this works quite well. And I think it's a relatively unique feature because of, well, first of all, there are ways to do online collaboration, as Etherpad, for example. Etherpad has, in my opinion, a few problems. First of all, it's only in the browser, right? You can't switch from Etherpad to your LibreOffice or OpenOffice or something because it lives in the browser. It's a web application. What we do with ownCloud is we work on top of normal ODT files. So you can normally upload and sync your normal text documents to your ownCloud, and then later in the browser click on edit and have your edit view in the browser, and then click on the share link and then send the sharing link to someone, and someone gets an invitation and edits the same file together with you. And if this editing session is over, then it's all in your file. It will then automatically be synced back to your desktop. So it's a combination of rich text desktop editing and browser editing. That's relatively unique, I think. And the other important thing, in my opinion, is ownCloud is super easy to host. The idea about ownCloud is you just take the tar file or a zip file, unpack it in your web server root, and then you have your own server.
You can use
Etherpad is relatively, it's not that easy to install and host.
you can use even hosting service.
Yeah, I mean, there are also a lot of hosting services who offer ownCloud hosting, yes. Or you can put it on your root server or your NAS at home or somewhere. If you have workspace from the university, you don't need root access, you don't need shell access, just an FTP access and put it into the folder and it works.
Collaborative editing, which formats is that supporting? Is that just the open, the documents, or does it support spreadsheets as well? Or?
At the moment, it's only supporting ODT, so LibreOffice text files. But we are working, I mean, this is only the first version. We keep on working with this, with the web ODF community, invest a lot in the next few months. And we will add spreadsheet support too. And we will also support other document formats by doing server-side conversion. So a lot of users want to use want to work with their Word files. And you can upload your Word file and then translate it to ODT on the server, and then you can collaboration, and if you sync it back, it's automatically transparently converted back. That's the idea, and this will come in the next 3-4 months.
this idea. I talked before this ownTube integration possible. Just no, if someone wants, maybe he wants to add this ownTube module to the ownCloud. What do you think about that? Would it be?
It's a good idea. The thing is that ownCloud, I mean, the core of ownCloud is file synchronization. That's the core idea. But what we did really from the start is we have this apps concept, which means if there are applications or plugins that can run on top of the core, so it's also like a platform a bit. There are lots of plugins already that can run on top of ownCloud, like a calendar and address book syncing, there's an RSS reader, and there's all kind of stuff. And it's possible to implement this application as an ownCloud plugin, then you can benefit from all the syncing services and the user management and all stuff in the backend.
Because this Ubuntu One cloud service is offering already the music streaming, the private music streaming feature.
Oh, we have a music streaming too.
Yeah.
We have a music app that's actually a new one, which done with the Google Summer of Code, ironically. Google sponsors the development directly. And that's a new music application. It has a very, very nice new user interface with nice cover art and everything. This was done by a great student over the summer. And this also supports the Apache streaming support. So Apache is an open music streaming protocol, and there are a lot of different clients for Android or for Linux. And you can stream your music to your phone from your server at home.
Well, what services does ownCloud come by? By default in the default installation, what are the plugins? What services does it come with?
Okay. At the moment it's the normal file sync part. Then we have the calendar and address book with the calendar and card syncing, and also nice web interface.
Yeah.
And then we have a bookmark syncing component.
All right.
And the music component. But we want to actually limit the number of applications that we ship by default in the future and make it more available via a central repository. We have a nice ad management page in ownCloud. You click on it, you get a huge list of all kinds of applications that people have done on the internet. And with one click they are downloaded, installed and activated.
All right, yeah.
So it's very transparent.
Yeah, I was mostly curious from if you write a client, what you can expect for someone to have on their system.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I forgot that there's also a photo gallery app.
no,
So
okay.
there's nice photo galleries and one click and you can share it. That's also very popular.
What are the primary, directions which you or the community are working with right now? I mean, new apps or new features or that kind of stuff. What's the main directions that you see the work is getting?
I mean, we are in the moment in the beta phase for ownCloud 6. Perhaps I can talk a little bit about that. First of all, it's stability and performance. So people are fixing bugs like crazy in the last few months. So stability is one of the main focus areas. And then we have the collaborative editing as discussed. Another nice feature, in my opinion, is an activity feed. So you have one feed where you can see what is going on in my ownCloud, which is files that I uploaded and downloaded and edited and deleted and so on. You can see it with nice thumbnails there. And you can also see what happens with the files that you shared with someone. So for example, you can share a folder with some colleague or some friends or someone, and then you can work together on these files. And you can also see in the activity feed that someone edited a shared file of you, and you can have a thumbnail and you just click on it, you get a preview and so on. And in this activity feed we will have all kinds of information in the future, like music that you listen to and appointments of your calendar. So basically all your digital life in a nice stream that you can browse. A bit like Google Plus or Google Now, but of course completely free software on your own machine. So in this case it's actually
So you're aiming for a drop-in replacement of the Google
I
accounts
wouldn't
and stuff.
say that. I mean, this would be a big thing.
Yeah.
And I also don't think that everything that Google does is good and needs a replacement. But in general, it's about web services, that should run on your machine.
Yeah, I think think that was last year FSCon's theme was like distributed computing and that everybody should start hosting their own services. And there was a lot of social networks and file sharing like Spotshare and Seashell and stuff like that. And last year I think that the problem was that there are so many attempts to solve this problem technically, but none of them was good enough. And when none of them is good enough, then it doesn't get the critical mass.
Yep.
So what's your recipe now to get the critical mass so that ownCloud would be the #1 solution for self-hosted file sharing?
Oh, I don't know.
So what do you think is why is ownCloud better than the competition?
I mean, if you want to have something that is free software,
Yeah, but
easy to
compared
run,
to the free software competition.
And secure probably. More
Yeah.
secure than
yeah, I think we invested a lot in the syncing part, so the desktop syncing application. So we have Mac Windows Linux clients run on your desktop and they synchronize folders. Same way as Dropbox. This is something which is relatively unique. There are a few others who do something like that. But I think that we are the leader in this space. We're adding, for example, the next version, functionalities that you directly from your desktop can share files. This is something that doesn't even Dropbox have. Dropbox, if you click on a file on your desktop and say share, it opens up a browser and you have to do everything in the browser, and we actually will do this natively. The API is already there in ownCloud 6 and add it to the desktop. So I think we are relatively advanced in this area, and also the easy way to host it. I mean, we got some criticism that we decided to use PHP for the server. PHP is not a super popular language. A lot of people think that it's not secure. In our opinion, it is secure if you use it the right way. We invest a lot of work in that we, with our review process and so on, that we actually can write good PHP code. And it has the benefit that it's really super easy to run. If you use Node or something else, or Rails, it's possible to host it if you know what you do, but not for everyone.
Two questions. First off, what is bookmark synchronization? Does it really work? Because I use several services like Xmarks, this Firefox self-built-in feature, but none of them didn't work actually. We messed up my bookmarks and so on.
Oh, okay. Well, it works. It has some limitations. For example, if you synchronize it with Firefox, the encryptor, you get an encrypted bookmark file from them, which means in this case you can't see the bookmarks in the web interface. There are some other plugins, and so it's not as, it's unfortunately.
It doesn't matter actually, but at least it should synchronize.
Yeah, I mean it should work, yeah.
Okay. Another feature might be even feature request now is restore deleted files as a Dropbox offers.
Oh, we have this too?
I see this, you have file versioning, but if I completely delete, can I restore it?
In the upper right corner there's a trash bin button.
Aha,
And you
it
get
goes
to
to
the
trash,
delete
yeah.
files, yeah.
Ah, okay.
And from there you can restore it, and then it's restored even together with the versions and the folders where the file was in.
Okay. So you don't have any, is there any feature what the ownCloud doesn't have but Dropbox has? Because Dropbox is quite famous nowadays. And
I mean, one of the challenges that we have here is with Dropbox is Dropbox, they promote themselves as a platform now. And there are libraries where you can put Dropbox syncing into your iOS and Android application the easy way. So if you look in the mobile app stores for application that can sync with Dropbox, you can find a lot. And the application you can sync with ownCloud, you've just a few. And that's a challenge, of course. That's a general challenge of free software. If you want to fight against proprietary software, the ecosystem. So we'll libraries in the next few weeks, so that people can just drop into the applications and then have ownCloud syncing. That's still a challenge.
Yeah. How is I mean the company doing? I mean, you formed a company around selling the app and stuff like that. Is it going well? How many?
Yeah, it's going well. We actually okay, I should perhaps explain this a bit. The thing is that I was involved in KDE for over 10 years, as I said, and for me it was always a bit frustrating to see that we have a lot of great students in KDE, and if the people graduate, then they need a job, and then they work in a closed source proprietary company, right? Because they need some money to pay rent. So for me, it was always the dream to try to find a company around a free software project. And we discussed this a lot and thought about the right way to do that. And we did it with a business model where we sell ownCloud services and support for enterprise, for big companies. I think this is fair because it's free software and everyone with some knowledge can use it, of course, and for small installations, no problem. For bigger companies, they normally want to have like an official version, which is like certified. You have a telephone support, and they implement your feature request that you want, and it's packaged for whatever Red Hat Enterprise Linux and so on, all that stuff that enterprises want. And this is what we do as a company. So we sell as a company. We offer ownCloud for bigger installations, more than 1,000 users usually, and that's actually, I think it's doing quite well. It's a good way to make the community happy and also the customers happy.
Are you selling smaller support as well, or do you just have the big one?
Only the big one.
We use ownCloud, and it's very good for us because we share sensitive data with people that are not very computer savvy, so to speak. So it's really easy for them to like fetch the data, which it's really been a benefit. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we are kind of almost running out of time. Let's give a big hand for next session will start in 10 minutes. That's all about MySQL and MariaDB, the creator of that. Michael multi-billionaires is giving a presentation, but you have time to grab a cup of coffee or something, a small